Good evening and welcome to the 100 Club. We are back once again to discuss a squad profile, and tonight's focus will be on, drum roll please, the Trent We won't rehearse that. We don't
ever do that again.
Okay, let's go with it. It's the Trent Rockets, and we're going to go with the women's squad. Joined once again by Rich.
Hello.
And Ollie.
Hello.
This is Tom, and this is an interesting squad, the women's squad, in that it's quite a difficult one to evaluate. So I suppose the first question will be, Ollie, who's the best player in that team?
So there's a few contenders. I was so close to suggesting Nat Sciver, because she's arguably the best batsman and arguably the best bowler. But I'm not going to put her name forward, even though she's a fantastic player, because I kind of feel I have to talk about the girl from Yorkshire, Katherine Brunt, who I think is a great bowler and could be a really good bowler for this format. Kind of reminds me quite a lot in her action, and kind of a great kind of like slower balls and off cutters, which kind of seems to she takes a lot of wickets with slower balls of Darren Gough, both from Barnsley, and I think they've kind of got a sort of low, sort of skiddy action that I think is quite difficult to get under and get away. And I think in this competition, when she'd be great in the power play, great at the death.
And that's where you think she's going to bowl, do you? I mean, I personally think she could open up.
Yeah, I think she'll probably bowl. I think she'll probably open, bowl in the power play. Yeah, and then I think they'll have a keep five back for the death as well. I think when you've got people trying swinging for boundaries in the last few balls, then I think she could be, if you can take the pace off it and disguise that slower ball, which if you look on YouTube, the amount of wickets she gets with off.
Yeah, well, she's one of the she's one of the quicker bowlers in the women's game, so I think that's why the slow ball is so effective for her, because her stock delivery is just a little bit
so quick.
Yeah.
She's. I mean, you look, kind of. I don't think the women's team get speed gunned quite as often as the men, but I think when you look at kind of lists of who people regard as being most of the quicker bowlers in the game, then she tends to be up there in kind of like sort of top 10 list. People talk about as being one of the quicker bowlers around. So if you kind of got that disguise of a great slower ball and can people are not picking it, and I think generally people don't, then she'll take wickets bowling at the death.
I think she's resolutely not stuck, but on 199 T20 wickets at the moment. I don't know how they're going to count this for stats purposes, whether a wicket in 100 would count to that. Presumably not.
No, it's a new format. It would be.
Well, that will come another day, I'm sure. She can play. Yeah, I'm fairly sure she'll break a few records in the 100, given half a chance. A fierce competitor as well.
And of course, she'll have the T20 series against India in the next few weeks to break that record.
Yeah, I imagine she'll probably come in with 200 and a few, I suspect.
Yeah, cresting the wave. And who's going to be corralling the team, Rich? Who's coach?
So the coach is going to be Sally Ann Beams, also formerly known as Sally Ann Briggs. She had a career with Yorkshire women's team, but has come through the coaching ranks with the England under-19 sides, various development academies. Then she was Loughborough Lightning coach for a couple of years between 2016 and 18. And she's actually been out in Australia for the last few years, coaching in the Big Bash with Hobart and in the women's national competition that they have over there with the Tasmania Tigers, where she's coached Elyse Villani, who's going to be one of the key players of the team. So very experienced coach, and good to see a female head coach in this role. And she'll know a lot of the players from her time with the Lightning.
Yeah, and that's a theme we're going to see with all these women's teams, is the sort of the regional hub thing. We saw it with the Vipers and the Brave down on the south coast as well. So it forms the core of the squad. I have had a good look at there. I mean, it's a very young squad as well. If you take Brunt out, Sciver and Villani, and everyone else is 24 or younger. So great opportunities for some of these youngsters to shine. I think what I'm going to be keeping an eye on is Katherine Bryce. And when we talk about young cricketers, made a domestic debut at the age of 13. So really has actually played quite a lot of cricket, despite now only being 23. A good all-rounder. And in fact, better than a good all-rounder. I'm slightly underselling it. ICC rankings currently have her as the 10th best bat in the world in the T20s and the 31st best bowler. So I think she's going to get a lot of action in the 100, and we'll see how she comes along. Captain for Scotland, in great form, and I think also was the ICC Cricketer of the Month for May. So yeah, should be hoping to carry that right through into the tournament. Yeah,
I think she was the ICC maker the Associate Player of the Decade, even though she'd only started about sort of 2018. So always made quite an impact in that Scotland side. So
how do you guys feel about that in terms of, it's always great to go for youth, but teams should strive for a blend, I think, of experience and youth. Have they gone a little bit too heavy on the youngsters?
It's going to be interesting to see, I guess, if they get under pressure in a chase, or somebody's really getting after them, when they're when they're bowling, if they got the sort of mature enough heads to kind of wrestle those situations back. I guess that's where your experienced pros are going to need to to play a big role on the field.
And if you look at some of the players actually who's played in the really big T20 competitions, the Big Bash, the internationals, actually the numbers aren't huge there. So I think they will be leaning on Brunt, Sciver, Villani quite heavily. We'll see.
But I guess good chance for some of those other names to to step up as well. Get good experience, and I guess if you're playing alongside those players, and one of those batsmen fails, she doesn't get in, someone else is going to have to get them over the line in a run chase. It'd be interesting to see. I guess it'd be quite character building for everyone else in that batting lineup, in particular, if they're in a tight run chase situation.
So let's talk about the lineup a little bit, because for this team, I've assumed the role of chairman of selectors.
Oh yeah,
and here we are on our Thursday night selection meeting before the key fixture at the weekend. Yeah. Who's got a big enough car? Whose partner can score? All these important considerations in club cricket. But both of you guys have prepared 11. So have you gone for the same 11? Where do you disagree? Maybe Tom, who have you got opening up?
Well, I think that's the one I can answer. In that, I'm going to caveat my whole squad. This is really difficult, and the reason this is really difficult is because almost all of the players are essentially all rounders. Yeah. Unless I mean, even Katherine Brunt can hit a long ball down the order. Everyone else is pretty much a bit of both, and so finding the batting order, I think, is going to be really challenging. But I'm going to open up with Elyse Villani, and I'm going to put alongside an Australian counterpart from Victoria, Molineux. How are we saying that one? Apologies if I've got that wrong, but they open up for Victoria. I think they'd be a natural opener.
Makes sense. Are we going to flash that up?
I can do. Yeah. Sorry, give me a second. But I mean, Ollie, are you happy with that?
Well, I certainly agree. I'd have Villani opening. I've kind of based my 11 on the Loughborough Lightning kind of batting lineup.
Or Luga Bruga, as the Australians would call it.
The Luga Bruga Lightning. So I've got Villani opening with Kirk. Michaela Kirk.
Okay, the young South African.
Oh, yeah. She's been out in the last few games for the Lightning, and I'm putting Bryce in at 3. I'm not sure where you've got Bryce batting, Tom.
I have no idea where Katherine Bryce is going to bat. I think I've got it down at about 8, because this is a big question. There are so many people who can bat at various points in this team. They might be really fluid. So I'm more than happy to take, Kirk, Bryce in that order. But the question for me then is, where's Sciver coming in? Because that's, that is an important part of the batting lineup. And I would say 4 for next for me.
Yeah, I had it for. I think that's where she likes to bat. I think if you've got one of your best batsmen, you kind of want to bat them in the spot they like playing. So I had her at 4.
Yeah.
And then I had Abigail Freeborn and Lucy Hyam. Again, based on the Loughborough Lightning batting lineup. So
I'm going to turn to the chair.
They normally bat at 4 and 5, I think, respectively. So they're going 1 down because we've got Nat Sciver in ahead of them.
Okay, well, I think I like the look at that top 4, and I think it makes sense for Bryce to come in at 3, given you said that she's ranked 10th in the international rankings. So I think we want to get her in early. But then perhaps I think maybe we go Molineux at 5 then at that point. So we break the tie, and then we can have.
I'd personally like to swap Kirk and Molineux there, but I'll take it as you say.
Okay. Well, let's see how the rest of it pans out. So we're down to 7. Who do you have at 8, Tom?
Well, that's interesting. Actually, as you've done it there, then I also had Freeborn, Hyam 6 and 7. As we've now got it. Okay. And then I then had Bryce, which I'm happy to say is a nonsense. But another reason why she was quite so high up, low down in mine, is because I had Sutherland coming in as somewhere up there as well, possibly as high as 3. And now Sutherland is an interesting case. Bowls really well, but hits a long ball, can score quickly, and for me is also I know she likes to bat up the order, and it's as advertised on the 100 website, likely to bat up the top. But if you're denying me that opportunity, I suppose then let's say
I had her at 10, so I've got a very strong tail.
Yeah,
because in my lineup, she's only batting above Sarah Glenn, who has been batting at 9 for England, and only gets a bat at number 11 in my lineup. So I think this tail should wag if they get down that far.
Yeah, I think maybe it's easy to say 10 and 11 might be Brunt and Graves for me. How does that sound to you, Ollie?
I think I had Graves, Brunt, Sutherland, Glenn, but I think at this point everybody's
let's try that.
Probably a better batter than batting. There aren't any natural number 11s, I don't think, in this squad.
No,
that's what we can probably agree on.
No, but I think we've got the same 11.
Yes, I think that's true. Through all of this, we've probably picked. I think we have picked the same 11 names, haven't we?
Yeah.
So I think you're probably going to swap Brunt and Graves around there, and I think a nod to what you were saying there, Tom, about Sutherland liking to bat up the order. I'm just going to go on precedent that overseas stars in franchise cricket often, even if they're star bowlers, will often bat up the order as well. You see that in Big Bash, you see that in IPL, CPL, etc. So I think maybe Sutherland might come in at 6 here.
That's convenient. I'd have to space.
So they're going to be a bit disgruntled, Glenn, Brunt and Graves, about that. But I think that looks a very strong batting lineup, doesn't it?
I think wherever you put the bottom half of that batting order is strong, and it's got some pretty impressive names at the top of it as well.
Yeah, and I suppose then there's a similarly interesting question about who's going to get the majority of the bowling once you've gone through Brunt, Sciver. Who's going to get a rotation in there? Molineux certainly going to be bowling a bit. Bryce has to. There's huge options in this team.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge for Nat Sciver, who's tipped to captain the side to think through all those different bowling options. I think you're right. I think also Sarah Glenn's going to probably get through 20 balls most games.
Yeah.
So, huge amount of options for them.
Yeah. I guess the only thing when I looked at the bowling options is based on this lineup was if it's looking like a real turning pitch. I think is this slightly too seam heavy?
Yeah, and that's interesting.
You've got a few spin options, but we both of us left our spin options on the bench. So
yeah,
you've got 2 leg spin options on the bench there in Ellie Mitchell and in Nancy Harmon as well. So potentially, if it's particularly turning wicket, you want to get a leggy on, then you might look to get them into the side.
Yeah,
I can't remember it right, as it is right now, but Trent Bridge for me isn't, synonymous with much in the terms of sideways movement. So
it's a batter's paradise, isn't it? Trent Bridge. We've seen some huge scores posted there in recent years. So very, very much favours the batters. Yeah.
Well, I think my other sort of conclusion from this is, no, that's not quite fair. How far is that now off the Loughborough team lineup? Because I think you really had a fair point there, Ollie. Is that massively different?
It's
a little bit different.
Top and middle order is quite close to the Loughborough lineup. It's the bowling department which is where we've changed it up a little bit.
Yeah, so Villani actually played for the Lightning back in 2018, so we'll know those players quite well. It's as you say, it's Katherine Brunt, Sarah Glenn, and Matt Sciver who are coming from other teams. But looks a strong side. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that one's going to probably change a bit. We'll see what that one does on day one. Their first game, I think it's looking like being on the 25th of July. That's the Saturday.
The 24th of July.
24th, the Saturday, yeah?
Yeah.
And that's at an 11 o'clock start against the Southern Brave. So they're on the opening Saturday of the tournament. I know the early bird prices sort of came to a conclusion last night at midnight, but there'll still be a few, I think, around for this game. So if you haven't had a chance, have a look at getting over to there. What else do we think about the Trent Rockets as a franchise? Personally, I think that's my least favourite kit.
Really? I like that. It's going to stand out.
Does the yellow go with your eyes? No, it's Well, it is a minor point. I'm sure they'll be fairly comfortable in it, whatever they're doing.
What about the crisp sponsor, though? All important. How's the snackage?
Well, we did Southern Brave last, didn't we? And I think skips are better than Pom Bears. So I'm going to put them ahead of Southern Brave in the skip department. I think I'm going to do it like a squash ladder.
Is this?
They're quite similar in a way. Skips sort of. Do you graduate to skips from Pom Bears? They've got the same sort of melt in the mouthy kind of thing going on, haven't they?
I don't know. We don't know quite how the league table is going to differentiate between ties, between extra points. I fear Richard has struck on the method. It's the crisp ranking. But more seriously, we all love a skip. I don't think there's anyone who can hate a skip. No, that's not serious at all. Okay, so decent team.
Comment below on the cricket or the crisps.
Absolutely. I think the more important question is, do they need to add anything? They've got one squad place left. Not obviously for me.
I guess it's experience. If there's
maybe a wise old head or two.
Yeah, I think they've used their 3 overseas spots, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, including Michaela Kirk, who's the bonus 4th option, South African, but with an English passport.
And a question back to you guys, that we've now had a look at the Southern Brave women's team and the Trent Rockets, and they'll face off, as you say, on the 24th in their first game. How do you potentially see that one going? I know we'll look at it in more detail closer, but having looked at the 2 squads, how do you see them comparing?
I think that Southern Brave team, for me, looked like it was a bit more sure of itself, with a bit more experience. And I think in an opening game at the tournament, I'm going to put, my 50 pence on the Southern Brave there.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think that's probably what, if you just sort of go off the numbers and the levels of experience, I'd probably say 2. Mm-hmm. I think if the Rockets can pull off a shock, and is it a shock? But will shock you two, then actually this young side might go some places, because I think this Brave is a strong squad and looks like it's got some experience. But it's a new format, this,
Yeah.
So we don't know how readily we can translate kind of T20 runs and T20 wickets into this format. So young squad, but if it's a talented squad, maybe maybe they could be the surprise package.
Maybe
certainly is, and it's all to play for. The I think that is where we're going to get to with the Trent Rockets right now. Rich, Ollie, thank you very much again for joining me. Again, no, please, if you can, do give us a subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast, then make sure you give us the nod on that platform. We're all over the Twitter. What's the handle at the moment, Rich?
It's at fans of the 100 Club 1. Sorry.
Thank you. That's our breaking news channel. We might get into that a bit more. Check out the video on YouTube as well. But for now, thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you next time on the 100.
Cheers.